Hey, good morning, everybody. Back with the Digging Deep podcast, and today I've got Tyler Griffin, Brian Kaiser, and Quint Henniger, myself, and we're back today to cover some more topics revolving around our industry and something we've been seeing a bunch of just in our local parts houses, dealing with our dealers, and having conversations about equipment coming down the line and whatnot. We're starting to see more and more of this kind of stuff pick up, and so handful of things we want to cover today. Really, it's just shop talk, just talking about equipment and kind of everything equipment really today. So first thing I want to kind of throw out there is the popularity. Been a big rise in what I'm going to call kind of robotic mowers. Not necessarily even the small solar powered, automated ones necessarily. Those are certainly there, but even there's big mowers that people are using on slopes and stuff like that. They have no seat. They have no rollover protection because there's no one. It's designed where no one would ride it ever, and so you can be sitting in the truck running a remote control and telling that thing what to do. I mean, do you think that's good? Do you think it's bad? What do you think about it?
I think it's got its benefits. I feel like it's got its place in the industry for sure.
What would be your biggest selling points on something like that?
Like if I was doing interstate, like roadside stuff, and
yeah.
You see guys on the side of the interstate about to flip those tractors every day.
Yeah.
You're taking that job on the tractor, but somebody's still got to drive it. So he's still got a job, and it's safer for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right of ways, or I guess you could call it vegetation management on maybe even power lines, depending on how thick or what kind of brush you're managing, so to speak. They're good. I hadn't seen doesn't sound like as many as y'all have seen, but I do know they're out there.
Montgomery County's got them.
I get emails all the time from a particular brand wanting us to buy one, wanting us to get into that game, and where it gets kind of hard is, I don't know about all the ones that you guys have seen, but the ones that I've seen, or at least the ones that have been pushed towards me, are between 50 and 60 grand.
Yeah.
And there's one in particular I think it's probably closer to 65,000. That's a
tough pill to swallow.
That's an expensive ride,
That, and knowing we can't work on it.
Yeah.
That's the part that scares me, is having something that costs that much. It's going to break, and then you're just at the mercy of the dealer to fix it, and we can't do anything to it.
Yeah, and where's the nearest local dealer?
Yeah, I
Like,
hadn't seen that either.
No.
Mm-mm.
I don't think it's big enough yet.
Yeah. Cost is a big setback. There are a handful of different products kind of making their way out into the scene right now that all of them seem to be floating that similar size price tag.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't.
The good news is that jacker's always going to show up to work.
Well, there's truth in that.
Mm-hmm.
From a risk and safety standpoint, I think they're massive pros, because like we have a handful of properties that have very steep slopes on the properties, or really large slopes, and you can train and train and train, but even a good operator on a bad day could end up flipping a mower or getting spun out of control, and something pretty catastrophic could occur.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to take that risk out of the equation and still get the job done, that's pretty exciting. But but there are other pieces of equipment that can still be used to get the job done that are like more than a fifth or a sixth of the cost, you know, maybe even a tenth of the cost, you know, and still achieve the same results. So, I don't know.
Yeah, like what comes to my mind when you saying that is, what is it? The Ventrac. Have y'all seen those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've seen those on a lot of right of ways, and they can cut some pretty gnarly stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive
They
too.
got
I mean,
tons of
it's almost like a small,
tractor.
Yeah.
with a brush hog on the. It's on the front. The cutting deck is on the front, out front of the engine and where the operator sits. But it's also like a mulcher. I think, and there's different attachments.
Yeah, they've got a ton of
Yeah,
attachments.
you can
on it.
drop that deck out and go grab something
Yeah.
else underneath that front frame under those forks.
And I do know those. I don't know of a local dealer around here, but the downtime, if something broke or you needed to get repaired, the downtime on that or something of that nature would be a lot quicker than a robotic mower.
Yeah.
That's just what stands out to me. Those things are pretty gnarly. I've seen people cut retention ponds that are saturated because apparently they don't. I guess the cutting surface allows, it's like a snowshoe.
Just better weight distribution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make one that's got the 8 tires too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've got tons of options. But in that, you're going back to just replacing parts instead of computers and stuff with the robot. So we could work on stuff like that and still be fine.
Well, so something that's, just the operator is off board, you're still one piece of equipment, one job. So there's, I guess folks aren't at risk of losing their occupation that way. But when you get into kind of the whole other side of that where, you're going out and you're putting up like a perimeter fence, like an invisible dog fence, and setting parameters for a fully automated little, robo mower to start cutting, I see different things where some companies are actually integrating some of that into their services. And, while the thought of not necessarily needing to fill as many, employment positions because we found a way to cover that, on one hand that sounds appealing. On the other hand, that robo mower is not going to stripe alone. It's, if something goes wrong with it, do I have the training and the tools necessary to fix it? The answer is probably no. I don't know how to reprogram it, or if a chip goes bad or if some type of something like that messes up, I'm not going to know how to fix that. And not that I'm unwilling to learn, but it also, I guess you're recognizing the fact that for every step forward that progress continues to march, you're looking at where, I guess, the whole agriculture, horticulture industry has been safe for a while because you can only make tractors so smart. The attachments have always just gone on the equipment, but you still had to have the equipment. And, as more time goes, as these things continue to press forward, they're finding ways to where less and less staff would be needed to operate a business like this. And I don't know. Like I said, that's kind of a two-edged sword where, if I didn't have to worry about having X number of guys every growing season and being short-staffed or trying to convince one more guy to, come on board and do this and do that, part of me would be elated, and the other part of me, I realize that I'm kind of playing a part in doing away with, part of the labor force.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I guess it's, like I said, it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right answer, because all the time, I think, 2 podcasts ago, we spoke about how difficult it was to get people to go to work and
Yeah.
stick it out, and just the turnover rate is through the roof and has always been high.
Mhm.
So it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. My thing is I guess it depends on, as far as residential aspect. Yeah, you can go set up a perimeter fence and let some little mower cut the grass every other day or every day. But you lose the aspect of being able, really time management. That mower is not going to be able to get off and pull these weeds in this mondo grass.
Mhm.
It's not going to be able to prune this, row of hedges. All it can do is cut grass.
Mhm.
So you're still going to have to send another crew out there
Yep.
to do whatever else it is that needs to be done.
Yeah. I'd read an article.
And is it worth it? I don't know.
Well, I'd read an article a while back where a company had begun to implement using those type of automated mowers, and so they would set up boundaries, do all of this, and they were basically stationing a mower at every single maintenance customer they had.
Mhm.
But they would come out and do the edging, the weed eating, the pruning, the spraying, the weed pulling, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, it allows them not to spend as much in gas, not to spend as much in equipment, because your mowers are the most expensive thing you have. So they don't have as many of those in the fleet. You can use smaller trucks, smaller trailers, smaller
Yeah.
equipment, because you don't have
Something big.
60s and 48s and
Yeah.
21s eating up a bunch of space in your your bed or your
Yeah.
cargo way. So I don't know. There are benefits, but I guess the more we look at ways to circumnavigate needing people, we also, I feel like, paint ourselves into a corner as an
Mhm.
industry, to a point where it's like, well, they can go buy a robot mower, a robot weed eater, a robot edger, a robot pruner, and Brian, Quentin, Tyler, you're not needed anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
We're obsolete at that point.
yeah. So I guess kind of thinking through, how, and it may not even be a question you could answer in the spot, but how do you continue to provide that level of intrinsic value as a landscape company, to where as more aspects of your job or the services that you can provide become more automated. I don't think this is something that is only to us. I think there's probably every industry in the world's probably facing this issue. But how do we as a landscape company continue to provide a level of intrinsic value despite whatever services we have provided, as they become more and more automated in the future? What can we do to buffet ourselves from, just like you said, becoming obsolete?
Yeah. I think, funny, kind of side note, funny story. Me and Tyler were eating lunch at the local barbecue joint, and I'm just sitting down eating, and I kid you not, there was a robotic busboy going around. I mean, you still had to either put your plate in the bucket or the waiter put it in the bucket, but that thing was literally making its rounds and going back to the kitchen.
Really?
Yes.
And then somebody just
And
grabs
somebody
the full
would
bucket.
grab the bucket, dump it in the dishwasher or what have you, however they do it, and he was just making his rounds every 5 to 10 minutes.
And he never bumped the table. Like if you walk,
Didn't touch anybody. If somebody walked in the front door,
It
it would stop. I mean, it was
slick.
cool.
Well, don't say what brand that is. My wife might buy us one. But, but I mean, there again, you're looking at, you know, small barbecue joint and on the outer edge of Birmingham, Alabama's got, you know, a robot busboy. I mean,
But you've still got to have that guy there to put the stuff in there.
for now.
And then, for now.
But I mean, you know, if people aren't wanting to hold the jobs that once made this world turn,
Something's got to happen.
yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to evolve
Yeah.
with the times.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, whether it's some people look at it as a good thing or a bad thing, it's just something that's
Hmm.
gonna have to happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If no one will do it anymore, then, you know, creativity and ingenuity will abound. But I guess more from an intrinsic value standpoint, you know, no robot will. I know I've seen, you know, pictures or things that some of these AI things have conjured up or whatever, but, you know, you still can't translate those things into a landscape or you know, no level of automation is going to take every little thought into consideration, you know, and thoughtfully put those things together, or I don't think they will in my lifetime. You know, we finished up a big job yesterday, and one of the issues that we ran into, it was a little thing, but it just required some thoughtfulness. And, you know, we ran into a place where we had replaced the entire exterior privacy fence on the property, and we had added a gate where an existing set of stone steps were. The gate went over that, and we realized that once we had it where we wanted it, that the way the steps were, there was really too large of a gap kind of below it. Just setting everything up where everything is existing, there was a larger gap below the gate and that step than I wanted. And I know that they have a little girl, they've got a dog, and, you know, either the kid or the dog's getting out. And so we took and we had pried up some stones out of another area, and we trimmed one down and you know, mortar jointed it in place, and basically extended one of the steps in a way that it wouldn't have any impact on the rest of the steps. And we were able to take and backfill that and kind of close off that gap. And it's, you know, you're still required to be, you know, creative and problem solve and kind of work through this myriad of different things that I don't think that I don't care if they've got if the whole, you know, fleet of maintenance devices have become automated. Someone still has to be able to go and work through all those things, figure those things out, and kind of take whatever concepts in their head and move that into a reality. And no amount of automation can just do that. So
What do y'all think? Have y'all seen like the automated or new irrigation systems they got out there? Like I think a big one is Irrigreen. So basically it reduces the amount of head and zones you have to have or are required to have, but it can eliminates overspray, and it basically can water only what needs to be watered or has to be watered. And like, say you have an AC unit in like 3 feet that comes into the bed line or the turf,
Well, this is
it
the one that
shortens.
you trace.
Yes,
right?
it shortens
Yeah.
at the AC unit and then extends back out as the bed line
Yes,
increases,
yes.
and
Yeah.
it can independently water if you have like trees dappled in the yard. It can independently water those.
Mhm.
Like it's pretty neat.
Mhm.
It's very
It's
neat.
stepped up a lot.
Yeah.
And water conservation, obviously,
Yeah.
is a big one there. But just something to add to it. I guess our topic, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can really dial that thing in, get it perfect.
Yeah.
So which one of y'all is going back to school for your
Robotics.
robotics degree, I guess?
I guess we'll flip a coin.
Yeah.
So let's dial the tech down just a little bit, and let's talk about battery operated equipment. Do you feel like it's coming up, or by way of what's available, by way of its performance, or do you feel like, and I may upset some people when I say it like this, but or do you feel like it's just being shoved down your throat?
We were at a local retail store, just looking at push mowers, seeing what's available. They had like 22 different options, and out of those 22, there was 4 gas. So, I mean, they're shoving it down your throat.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. And again, that's just the times we're in, you know, the emissions and what have you. Everybody's, you know, been scared, whether it be by politics and this and that. That they're definitely shoving it down our throats. There's no question about it. And I think we briefly touched on this in a few other recent podcasts, but to me, they're not quite there yet from a commercial standpoint. The length of runtime, battery sensitivity, whether it be to moisture from rain,
Too hot.
hot weather, yeah, and just not to mention the cost that goes with all that is through the roof.
Yeah.
I've got a battery chainsaw at home, and then I've got your old school gas chainsaw. You know, the electric, you know, the battery one's good for some stuff, but if I've got a big tree job or something I need to go do, that thing would wear you out. Like, that gas one's going to win all day.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I know that, you know, the battery's gotten way better than it was, but to me, it's got a long way to go to be where, you know, where we would need it to be.
Yep.
For the homeowner, you got a little garden home, sure, it's perfect. I mean, we would have that thing killed in no time. You're just going to go through batteries like crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's coming though. I mean, what was it, a year and a half ago? We had a little bit of time to experiment with some of it.
Yeah, I mean, we've probably demoed half a dozen different brands of products. And, you know, I think almost always it seems like the next one we demo, they've made, you know, some strides to improve on this or improve on that. We demoed a 60-inch zero turn. I liked it a lot, honestly.
Mhm.
It was really quiet. I really thought that how each, you know, what we're used to having a spindle and a belt system, you know, each motor for each blade were independent from the others. And so, you know, I took it into a place where, like, the vegetation was really tall and thick over here on the right side where it would discharge, and over here it was really light. And each motor had a different light system on it, like a red light. It was red, yellow, and green. If it was fully functional, turning at the RPMs it was supposed to, all lights were green. And as I got into the thick brushy stuff, this one started to turn yellow, and then this one turned yellow. This one turned red, that meant, you know, meaning that it had stopped because it was too much for it to handle. This one was hovering in yellow. This one's over here just whipping green all day.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were a lot of functions about it that were really neat, the way they had been, thoughtful in setting it up to where, I mean, the thought of not having to change a belt ever again tickled me pink. But still all the while, if I had have taken a belt-driven, gas-burning mower into that same area, I know for a fact that it would have performed.
Yep.
And so, and they swore up and down that, that brand was telling us that they could run that thing hard and fast, wide open for 6.5 hours. And, and they accidentally proved on site that was not the case.
Yeah.
It showed up fully charged and was dead in like 2.5 hours. And I don't have a problem with using, electric equipment. I have no issue with it. If it works good and it does what it's supposed to, fine, let's use it. Not having to smell gas fumes and not having something screaming in my ear all day, I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Or not having to worry about the guys not mixing.
Yeah, we can make a
correctly.
long list of
Yeah.
reasons why, there's some really nice things about that. But when, these, what is it, like 40 volt, and then there's a bigger one too.
60 amp hour or something.
Yeah, when we're talking about burning through or having to recharge those things throughout the day, I mean, when you're talking about having to go through, whether they're charged and reused in the same day or not, you're talking about going through something like, 20 to 30 batteries. I don't know how we make sense of that. Not when every single one of those batteries is the cost of, $300 to $500 a pop.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, run the math. I need $9,000 worth of batteries just to
And-
make it through one day.
And the charger to charge them back.
Yeah.
And if I haven't been able to cycle all of those chargers throughout the day, then I've got to put all of those on charge at night when we shut down. So,
And in hopes that you have a big enough infrastructure to that can charge all that.
right.
You're not blowing fuses left and right, and
What if the power goes out?
yeah,
Well, that's the thing right there. Then I'm gonna either have to go back to my gas equipment, or I'm gonna have to run a gas generator all night to
And then you're
to
back.
charge
You're
my
back at square one.
Yeah. So if the power source to me is just not where it needs to be for it to make sense for a company our size. I don't know how people are making it through an entire day with a handful of batteries when we tried. We tried for several weeks at a time trying to run this equipment, do it like they asked us to, and it was like we couldn't make it to lunch without everything being completely toast. So as much as I would like something like that to work, they're going to have to figure out how to really get more out of the power source. They're going to figure out how to get the cost of some of that equipment way down.
Mhm.
Way down. So, I don't know. Hopefully we'll get there. But
yeah. I don't think it'll be any time. I don't think we have anything to worry about anytime soon.
well, unless the thing I worry about more than them coming up with a new power source is legislation being passed that would require us to use that equipment in spite of its, efficacy.
Mhm.
Which has happened in plenty states, in our fair country. So,
Yeah, I mean, we had a local zoo went to all electric, and I'd be curious to know
how they're doing.
if
with
they're
it.
still even using it, and what kind of, I mean, if they've just been able to do it efficiently.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's to me right now now, it just seems more of a headache than it's really worth.
Well, last question. This will be more of a fun one. Have you seen any new products on the market lately that that just caught your eye, or you're like, I'd like to have that. I'd like to try that. Just anything you've seen you like. So like I'll give you an example. So we have a property that's like almost 1,400 acres that we take care of, and Exmark, maybe within the last year or so, came out with a mower that's 144-inch deck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a 12-foot bat one.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
It's
Yeah.
huge, and it's got like hydraulically driven, bat wings
Yeah.
that come up on either side. Now, when you start doing the math, you've got 3 blades under the primary deck and then 2 under each one. So every time you got to sharpen blades, you
You'll be
got
there.
7 blades to work on. So, but the belts and the whole drive system is pretty wild.
Mhm.
And I would love to demo one, try it out, but I fear that if you had a property big enough to support something like that, I don't know if we have enough smooth terrain. I'd be curious to know how it floats over undulating territory, and how does it handle all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you were ever to cut that thing on a slope, with it being as heavy as it is, because it's huge, I just wonder how prone would it be to just getting away from
Yeah.
you.
How so, you think? Because in my eyes, a slope. I mean, I don't think you would really run the risk of it flipping. I mean, because you got to
No,
think
not,
about it.
not
You got
flipping,
100
but just
sliding.
sliding, and then once that thing breaks free and you don't have grip,
It's a lot of weight going to the bottom.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of skidding out of control with it.
Yeah, I can definitely see sliding. I
Yeah.
didn't know exactly what you.
No, I
what
don't.
you
I don't
meant
think
by
that thing's gonna flip. And it's got a pretty big stance. And of course they've got that thing postured up kind of high. You look like you're riding around a lifeguard chair, with a deck underneath it.
Does.
So those older 60s, you kind of set down in.
Mm-hmm.
But these new ones, like we've got 2 rear discharge 72s out there, and I feel like you're sitting on top of the boat instead of in it. But yeah, no, they look like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind trying one of those. Those also are about 90 grand a piece.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was up there one day and the guy bought 2 of them, so
Golly.
he's in for it on that one. But
As far as new equipment, I mean, there's nothing to me that just stands out
Okay.
that we could use within, I guess, our company. There's a lot of stuff on the market that I'd like to test out.
Mhm.
I mean, like the Ventrac, for example, stuff like that just I've never been on. But nothing that I think we could use that I've seen.
This has been out a few years, I think, but the little handheld chainsaw with a little 4 or 6 inch bar on it,
Oh yeah.
those are pretty cool.
Like a little climber saw.
I've
Mhm.
actually got one of those. Well, it's battery operated.
Yeah, it's a battery.
Yeah.
But
As far as like pruning crepe myrtles, and small limbs and stuff,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when you get down to that level of something, just buying one tool, the battery's not that expensive to have 2 or 3
Right.
batteries.
Right.
It's like buying a drill battery.
Yeah. I mean, the battery's like a cartridge. It's only
Yeah.
like this big.
Yeah, I think those are pretty cool.
And for somebody who, like us, an account manager, or somebody that rarely uses it, and when they do, it's,
Cutting a limb up.
yeah, it's perfect. But no, there's really nothing out there. I mean, and it's been on the market for a while, and we've kind of tried it here, or some of my crews have, the speed feed heads. I know I like them. They take some getting used to. But, the guys that have been using string and weed eater up the old school way and method for 20, 30 years, they hate change. And they think it takes longer, but realistically, once you get the hang of it, to me it is faster.
I'm the guy who hates change. I've never even tried one. I just like the old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried one. I don't see why the guys can't just put the weed eater in the 2 designated holes, wrap it up,
Slam it in there and go.
put the cap on and
Yeah, I mean,
and roll,
I understand that, but just as well as I do, you've got to get within that bump head. You've got to get those 2 prongs or nipples, whatever you want to call them, sitting underneath
yeah.
the edges of the head itself within it,
You gotta get
or else
locked in.
it'll pop out. The spring will come out, and the string you just wrapped up will sling out everywhere. So to newbies, it can be a pain.
Yeah.
So it's like with anything, it's got its pros and cons. But I think you should try it out, for a week and see what you think. Does it really make them more efficient? I don't think so, but I think it cuts down on just the headache of stringing up a weed eater if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to cut. You have to cut it once. I've seen people string up weed eater a few different ways. Some people cut it's the same length, but they'll make 2 cuts off the roll of weed eater. They'll put one in one hole, wrap it on the top part, and then wrap another piece on the bottom, versus just cutting it once and it's just one long piece, and they put both ends into the holes and then wrap it, and that way when you get to the top you've got almost like a loop.
Yeah.
That's the way I do it, but I've also seen people do it the other way, where they're cutting 2 pieces and putting one piece in each hole. So I mean, yeah, it's just, but you really just cut it once, you string it through the hole, and you just ratchet it, and it automatically
rolls it up.
It up, wraps it up in there.
Yeah.
But even then, that's not too new. So no, to answer your question, no, there's nothing that I've seen that would be applicable to our guys or what we do.
Yeah.
I've seen some pretty neat things on the irrigation side of things. Like I said, the Irrigreen. I've seen they're almost like universal barbed elbows, for funny pipe. There's a 3/4 inch and a 1/2 inch on the same barb.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to have two different
That's nice.
sets.
Yeah.
If you need the 1/2 inch, you just keep screwing down till you get to it. If you need the 3/4, it's right on top, and you just stop there. And I think it's two different sizes, because if I'm not mistaken, there's 2 different size funny pipe.
Yeah.
So it just cuts down on the components you need, while you're out there in the field.
Yeah, just more universally
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, maybe you could take and make something.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Well, I guess I want to take a minute to say that we're going to take and we are planning on doing kind of a special little giveaway to, is it our 100th
Mm-hmm.
subscriber?
Yep.
And so as we get a little bit closer to that, we'll start kind of giving hints as to what that might be. But we're getting ready to get all that put together. We've been talking to people about what all kind of goodies they can contribute to that. So yeah, when we get a little bit closer to that, we'll be letting you know who it'll be and what it'll be and all that. But spread the word, and unless you guys have anything else to add, I guess we'll wrap this up.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, please by all means continue to like and subscribe to our videos, and check us out on, Lord knows, all
All the platforms.
yeah, all of them. And we greatly appreciate your time and your attention to us. And feel free to send us more questions or thoughts, comments, and let us know what we can do for you or what questions we make an answer for you. Y'all have a good one.